All right, welcome to the first ever live Force with Friends podcast. Kevin, are you excited to be live?
Yeah, this is fun. It's a new experience. Everybody will get us raw and unedited. So
and we edit a lot, so this could be brutal, but we're glad
we're
you're here
we're not the
nonetheless.
best public speakers.
Yeah, at all. So yeah, it's 2024, which is kind of crazy to think. So we are in our second year, calendar year of our podcast. You know, we kind of sound like professionals at that point, but it means it's a new year for Star Wars. So I'm pretty excited to break down what we have coming this year.
Yeah, same. I hadn't really had a lot of time to look at it just because we've been doing the movies, then we were doing a review of the year, and so sitting down and looking at the slate for now. I mean, there's a lot of really cool stuff next year. So I've really kind of worked myself up into a pretty good excitement for it.
Yeah, I think yeah, probably recency bias, but I do think this year, like I know last year had Ahsoka and Mando season
Yeah,
3 plus all the other stuff. Ahsoka's probably going to take the cake, but this is going to be a good year. I think the Acolyte and
I think
Skeleton
so.
Crew are both going to be
Yeah.
pretty good. So, as far as topics go, what we're going to run down is obviously the four big shows. We're going to do Acolyte, Tales of the Jedi, Skeleton Crew, Bad Batch, plus the new video game. What is it called again?
Outlaws.
Star Wars Outlaws. Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
like the open world GTA Star Wars type thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited for that too.
Yeah, it looks really
You're
cool.
better at video games than I am though.
Well, yeah. Well, I have looked at it quite a bit. They actually came out with some news on it just recently, some further information. So, oh, they're doing a Dark Forces remaster. I didn't know
Yes,
that. I saw a
so
little bit in the
Sith
comments. That's
Talk
awesome.
podcast. This is Star Wars Sith's new podcast, so definitely, or his new channel for his podcast.
Yeah.
So go sub to that if you have not already. But yeah, he says there's a Dark
Oh,
Forces
that's cool.
remaster as
I
well.
didn't
So
realize that.
Kevin's probably pumped about that.
Yeah, that's in need of one.
Yeah,
That's
for
great.
sure. Then I'm just subbed. I'm new here. Thanks. Thanks for the sub, Tony. And then it
One's
looks
coming out
like
soon.
it releases very soon. So
Soon.
Kevin,
Yeah.
you'll have your hands full.
I got too much stuff I don't have time to play right now.
Then Noah, thanks for joining. I can't wait for more Tales of the Jedi either. That's
Yeah.
that's probably going to be the most solid thing that comes out this year.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about the quality of that one. It's going to be good. So,
A okay there. And then Andrew, what's up? Thanks for joining. Your avatar is super awesome, by the way.
it is cool. I like it.
It's literally on fire. That is incredible. So let's go ahead and hop straight in. Let's go and start with the Acolyte. So
Mm.
the Acolyte is going to be set before the Phantom Menace. Now, I have
Yeah.
not seen the leaked trailer. I know there is a leaked trailer for it, and I think maybe the people at Star Wars Celebration got to see it. So, Tony, if you're
Yeah.
still in the chat, you can let us know that. But very good vibes from that trailer. There's some big prequel vibes. I think there's going to be a little bit of High Republic to it as well, from what I've read. So I know like there's a Wookiee Jedi. I've heard that. So spoiler alert, there's a Wookiee Jedi.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah.
And it's going to be a dark show. So I'm thinking it's going to be pretty good. And yeah, Tony says it's going to be good, and he has a clear video on his phone, wink wink, so it sounds like I'm
Nice.
going to get to see the trailer soon
There
at
you
some
go.
point. So that's
That's
awesome.
funny.
But yeah, what do you think about the show, Kevin?
I'm excited for it. I think the official synopsis is it's like a Padawan kind of gets back with her master and they're like investigating some crimes. And
Right.
we joked about it when I was talking about Attack of the Clones a couple weeks back, how watching the Obi-Wan Kenobi kind of detective arc where he's investigating Camino. Like I
Yeah.
joked, I would love to see like a Jedi detective show. It kind of seems like that's what it is, right? It looks like they're going to be kind of trying to investigate what's going on with these crimes, and there's going to be some pretty dark things going on, like you said. So I'm pretty pumped about it. I think it'll be a really cool show. I think it's set towards the end of the High Republic, I think is what the information said. So
Right.
definitely different from anything else we've seen, which is cool. But I'm pumped for it. I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah, I think first of all, the political vibes of the prequels, I think, will probably be there. I
Yeah.
just finished the Plagueis audiobook, so I'm thinking I'm very in that prequel mindset now. So I'm hoping maybe there's like some similarities between the two, and you just kind of see the dark side slowly
Yeah.
rising as you kind of build up more and more and more. If it's
Yeah.
100 years before the Phantom Menace, which is what Star Wars Sith Talk podcast says, you're looking at around 35 years
Yeah. I think I
before
saw the same
the
thing.
yeah, so it's 35 years before the non-canon Legends novel, The Plagueis. So you're going a good ways back. I think it's going to be very cool. A lot of Under the Shadows type Star Wars
Yeah.
stuff.
And I'm predicting it's not going to end on a very happy note, because you think about, and now if they're trying to stick to movie canon, right? If they're trying to keep movie canon in place, right? When they're all sitting around and Qui-Gon says the Sith are back, and they're like, no. And I think it's is it Kiadi-Mundi that says they've been gone for a millennia or whatever?
Yeah,
And so
the
they're
two
still
brain
operating
guy.
under the
Yeah,
assumption that the Sith have been gone for a long time, which makes me think
right.
in this show they're going to stay hidden, and it's not going to end well for any good guys that are possibly coming in contact with them. So I'm excited for that. I think it might have a dark ending, because once we get to the old Republic, it seems like they're still in the dark about the Sith. So I'm not expecting it to end happy.
Yeah, I'm hoping this is one of those shows where it's kind of similar, you know, how to Empire Strikes Back is. Like the bad
Yeah.
guys just keep winning over and over and over. And I'm not expecting anything crazy, you know, like huge Jedi Sith battles, because like you said, it has to stay kind of on the down low. So
Yeah.
it can't be these big, large scale Jedi versus Sith, but I'm pretty sure we're going to be seeing some lightsaber battles, things like that maybe are missing from like the Mandalorian and Andor. I think it will get our force fix as far as all these Star Wars shows coming out this year.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be as much of a slow burn as like Andor was, right? Like Andor really spent time building up to bigger moments. I expect that it'll be a little faster moving than Andor was, but still, I do think it's gonna, like you mentioned, I don't think it's gonna be a ton of action left and right.
Right.
But I'm looking forward to it. I think it could potentially be a really lore heavy show, like going back to the High Republic, and if it's possibly the Sith resurgence and that kind of thing. Um, I'm excited to see if they are able to inject some pretty good lore stuff in there too.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah,
I think when
I,
you
I'm really
get
looking forward to it.
I don't have, again, right, we don't know too much about what's going to go on with it. So I don't have too much to say, and I haven't seen the trailer yet, but I'm hoping I get to soon, Tony. But everything that I've seen gets me excited about it. The
Yeah,
director said like some wonky things about the history of Star Wars and things
yeah,
like that. And whatever, directors can feel however they want about the world. As long as they put good Star Wars out there that feels like Star Wars, I'm going to be okay with it. Now, if we get here and like her ideas have gotten all into the show and it's like, come on, we're here to get away from stuff like that, I'll be pretty disappointed. But just from what I've heard, I think it's going to be pretty good.
yeah. I think it'll manage to feel like Star Wars just through the presence of some of those key elements of the Jedi and the Sith. Andor really missed a lot of that stuff, and so I know a lot of people struggled with it because it didn't quite feel like Star Wars for some reason. I get that it was very
Yeah.
different from traditional Star Wars, but I don't know that this will suffer from the same thing. So we'll see.
Yeah, yeah. I don't it's not I think it'll have like kind of the storytelling vibes of Andor, but I doubt it's as boring per se. Like I like Andor, but you know, boring is a thing that gets
Yeah.
thrown around there, and I don't know if that will feel that way.
Uh,
Austin, what is up? SPC Unleashed. Thanks for hopping in the chat. And I'm kind of with you on this. The Acolyte or Tales of the Jedi, those are the two I'm most excited about. I just know Tales is going to be good. You know, like you go to the steak
yeah.
restaurant, you order the filet, you know it's going to be good. Tales is going to be good. Like you know what you're going to get. So I may lean more safely towards Tales, but as far as cautiously optimistic, it's got to be Acolyte. And
And I'm
then
I'm actually he
Christopher,
said he's not interested in Skeleton Crew. I'm pretty stoked about Skeleton Crew. That's interesting.
I'm excited
There's
about all of
the
it,
cool
but
thing about it. I know the cool thing about it is really since last year they've started really spreading out the Star Wars amongst some different genres, which is really neat. And so if it's not your thing, you can move on to the next thing because they really are. I mean, they're really starting to vary kind of what they're presenting, which is really neat. It offers a lot of different types of storytelling and ways to kind of present these cool Star Wars things in this galaxy. So I'm loving that they're varying it so much. I think that was a good decision. And so
that really is a good point because I mean Andor is a genre of its own. Then you had Mando as
yeah,
like its own thing, and then Ahsoka gave us all of like the Rebels prequel feels. With
yeah,
Anakin, with all the Rebels characters. You got your animated and Bad Batch Tales of the Jedi. Like it's a very diversified portfolio at the moment. So I haven't
yeah.
really thought of it till now, but that's a pretty smart way to go about it. So everybody's happy at least once throughout the year.
And I think you go back, I think Rogue One was like a safe test of those waters, right? They kind
Yeah.
of removed all the big Star Wars elements, right? There's Death Star, Vader's in there. But I mean, you lose all these legendary characters for the first time in a big Star Wars movie, and people loved it, right? They were still engaged with the Star
Yeah.
Wars
They're
universe.
all dead.
And so I think from that point, they're like, hey, maybe we can tell some stories outside of because like you mentioned, Ahsoka was really pushing like the traditional Star Wars feel.
Right.
That
Yeah.
was one of the things that I think people liked. It felt like it felt like Star Wars.
Yeah.
But I do think they're feeling more comfortable kind of pushing out some different genres of things now, just because they have found an audience to an extent, right? It's not everybody's taste, but that's the cool thing about it is it can draw in different people with different interests, and it's still all the same fandom. So
I agree.
good
Christopher,
stuff.
thanks for hopping in. Seriously, Star Wars, joining from Canada, our northern neighbors. And then you can 100% guarantee Tails will be sweet for sure. Skeptical about Acolyte. Yeah, it's kind of an unknown.
It is, yeah.
Then Austin says until he sees a trailer, he's not sure about Skeleton Crew being on Mando or Ahsoka level. That's definitely fair until
Yeah.
until we know what's going on. Those are some pretty high bars. I bet it's better than Mando season 3.
You just move the bar down. So
Yeah, lower.
sorry.
And
Yeah.
Andor, yeah, season 2 can be more like Rogue One. I think that's a safe bet because it's going to lead us up to
Yeah.
Rogue One as far as Andor goes.
Yeah, because
But
that
that
should be it. It
will,
was only 2 seasons.
yeah, and that's a 25 release, right?
Yeah, they had to push it back a year.
Yeah,
So it'll be 25 now. Which is crazy, the
Tony.
fact that at one point it might have been 24
Right. Yeah, it
with
was
all that
gonna
we
be.
have
Yeah,
coming out this year.
Tony's gonna be selling off the Acolyte trailer before too long. He's got access.
Oh man.
So let's
Funny.
move from the Acolyte. Let's go on to the Bad Batch season 3. So I think that will be good. I think the Bad Batch season 2. Um, I mean, parts of it pretty good, parts
Yeah.
of it a little bit filler. I think the character development in the Bad Batch season 2 was pretty top notch when it actually focused on the character development. I think season 1 was far superior. I think most people would
Yeah,
agree.
I agree.
But
It
season 2 left us with a pretty good cliffhanger,
it
a
did.
lot of emotional buy-in as far as the last couple episodes of this season. I'm thinking this season's going to be pretty dark. I'm not sure how they're going to end it. I could see it going one of two ways. Either they all die, kind of like Rogue One,
Yeah.
or maybe they all just kind of disappear somewhere. We got new galaxies now. I don't know.
Yeah, into that Star Wars lore where these characters go when they disappear. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think season 2 was not as good as season 1, but I think it benefited from the fact they built such good characters in season 1.
Yep.
Right, you get introduced to them a little bit in the Clone Wars in that arc with Echo, and then season 1 was good. It was really kind of exploring them and the clone orders, and they kind of had the breaking with Crosshair. But then season 2 was really just kind of them on the run. And I do think season 3, it's supposed to be the last season. I think it's at a good wrap up point. Like looking back on season 2, I think they paced it well because it did end on a pretty emotional note moving into season 3 where things are going to wrap up. And there's some big questions, right, that need to be answered. Which the thing I'm most intrigued about is like what happens to the clones, right? Because that's kind of been at the center of season two,
Yeah,
really, was trying to get rid of the clones, trying to
phasing
push
them
them
out.
out, trying to
Yeah.
raise a different army. So I'm really hoping they finalize that question of what does the Republic do with the clones? How does this whole thing close out? Because that, to me, that's been the most interesting part of it, is that political behind the scenes stuff involving the clones and the treatment of the clones. It's been the highlight of the show for me. So as long as that gets answered, I'll be happy.
That's kind of a deep like social dive too, as far as what they're doing. They're exploring like a pretty
Yeah,
deep topic for an animated series,
yeah,
and
seriously.
I think I don't get into Clone Wars as much. I know a lot of people do, and there's some arcs that are super good, like that I just really love. But I think for whatever reason, I get drawn more into the Bad Batch because there is a little bit more of that entertainment that might appeal to someone
Yeah.
that's not a kid, right? Like it's some real world scenarios, and it's pretty interesting. I agree with what you said. Like season one built up all those characters, so season two could
Yeah.
kind of explore itself a little bit. And I'm really interested in what they're gonna kind of tie together with that ending where Omega's the clone, but then there's the other as well, right?
Yeah. Now there's
Like there were
another.
two.
Yeah. She says she's her sister or whatever. Now there's two of them.
Right. And they're very interested in her. Are they going to try to do
Yeah.
like some Palpatine cleanup here as well, cuz that's like the whole purpose of all these shows is cleaning up the sequels. So are
Wasn't there some sort of Palpatine connection in the show in season two where they were investigating like a cloning facility or something?
Yeah, I'm sure there was.
Seems like there
I never
was.
rewatched season 2,
Can't
but I
remember.
remember the end of it everyone was like, "Oh, it's connecting to the sequels or whatever." So it's going to
Yeah.
play a role in the big picture, which is good. Um I just don't know. I don't know. I hopefully they do less of those little side plot things like where they did the race on that one episode and things
Yeah.
like that. I didn't care as much
I'll,
for that.
I'll be happy if there's just no more Sid. I'm tired of Sid.
Yeah, she's the one that drives me nuts.
Worse. Yeah.
So Tony
As
says they
little screen time
saw,
as possible.
yes, they kill her off. I don't know. But Tony saw the season 3 trailer at Celebration. Dark and gloomy. A lot won't make it out. That's I think all of
Yeah.
like
It
watching all
feels like it's
Tony's
heading
stuff
that
is
direction.
probably yeah, this is probably where I gathered this information from. And I'm okay with that. Rogue One went well when it went
Yeah.
dark, and so I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, this story arc of the Bad Batch, they've always been kind of on the ropes. It's never felt like a story that
Yeah.
had a real happy ending, especially in season two. And so, unless something happens, pull out a miracle, it doesn't seem like they have a lot of options going forward. So, hopefully it closes out. It's a good ending, is all we can ask for.
Do you think Tech really died?
Yes, I think that's too much to end an episode on with a cliffhanger, too much of an emotional note to then go into the next season and be like, just kidding. Like if it was earlier in the season, I could see him popping back up possibly, but like to end on that note and to kind of finish out the season that way, I feel like it's got to be a done deal. I don't know.
I hope it stays a done deal because to
I think
me that was like the redeeming quality of this or season 2 is it was so heavy when and
yeah,
they kind of built his character up too. They had a bigger focus on him and it was
there
almost
was.
like they
Yeah,
were telegraphing what was going to happen. And so I kind of
yeah.
hope they stay true to that. Some people think he's going to be okay like he landed, in the snow soft or something like that. I don't know.
It was
I
very
hope
soft snow.
yeah,
Very
I hope
soft.
he doesn't make it out. I like how
Yeah,
they
I
have it.
think it should
So
stay for sure.
anything else on Bad Batch season 3?
Not really. I mean, it's probably the one I'm least looking forward to, but not because I don't like it. I mean, it's a fun show and I've really enjoyed it. I think for some reason I'm more invested in the regular clones than I have been the Bad Batch. I don't know why. Like anytime they pop back up in the show, like I resume my interest, and so it's a good show. I like it, but it's not at the top of the list of the seasons next year that I'm most looking forward to. So we'll see. It'll be good. I don't have any concerns that it'll be like really bad.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. I'm excited about it just because it's fun to have Star Wars every week, and there's a
Yeah,
ton of episodes in these, so there's not like a lack of something to talk about. But if I'm ranking it amongst these four, it's probably number four for me as well.
Yeah.
Andrew is excited for Bad Batch season 3, and he's actually got like a super good point here. They're not going to milk the
Yeah.
story dry. They've got
I think it's the
a
perfect place to
yeah,
end it. So I am glad they're not pushing it into a fourth, fifth season. So that's a good point.
yeah. That is a great point. And then Andrea, Padawan Chronicles, has entered the building. Hello, Andrea. So, what you want to do? You want to do another show, or do you want to hop into the video game real quick?
We can break it up, talk about the video game, then we'll hit the last two shows, I guess.
Sounds good.
So,
I didn't make a banner for the video game. What's it called?
it's called Outlaws. You've asked me that like 13 times now.
I don't remember what it was called.
Star Wars Outlaws. Yeah.
Boom, Outlaws. We're talking Outlaws. So,
Some football.
Kevin, you're the expert here. Let's talk about Outlaws.
By expert, you just mean I play video games too much.
You did your
Um,
homework.
I do when I have time. No, it looks cool. I was skeptical about it at first. It's made by Ubisoft, guys that make Assassin's Creed. At one point, Assassin's Creed, those games got so bloated that it became like a gaming meme where it's just a map littered with icons, right? And so, but this is made by actually a different group in Ubisoft that actually made The Division. I don't know if you're familiar with those games, which were pretty well received. They were more grounded, less fantastical. It was very much like a cover type shooter, which I've heard there might be some elements of that in this, but it should be good. It's supposed to be a really big open world, lots of planets. My understanding is you play it, it's just kind of like a scoundrel that you kind of make your way as you like. There's like different organizations and syndicates you can work with and create relationships with shady people. So if you've ever been invested in that side of Star Wars, it's like, what would it be like to be Han Solo? I mean, that's kind of what it seems like it's going to be. So it does actually look pretty cool. I'm pretty excited for it. There's no real release date other than sometime this year, but I think
Does
it could
that
be a
mean
lot of
next
fun.
year?
Hey, with video games, you never know. It could be a week from now. They announce that it's been pushed back to 25, so we'll see.
Yeah. I actually
But
did
no,
watch
it
the
looks fun.
trailer. Yeah, I mean, I watched the trailer and I watched some gameplay because I made like a
Yeah,
little video on the gameplay the other day, but that's like all I know, and it looked really cool. Like the girl is running around, she gets on a speeder bike, she flies like an actual ship, she has some combat,
yeah,
so it looks like you kind of get a little bit of everything. And then in the trailer, like it shows the Jabba the Hutt and like the carbonite, like you
yeah,
said. So that's pretty cool. I think it will be one of those games you can play a lot. Like you can hop back in and do a lot of side quests and
yeah.
things like that.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be a lot less focused than like Jedi Survivor was, right? That was really telling a story. I think
Yeah.
it's a lot more open than that, a lot more kind of exploration adventure type thing. I think I did read there's like a big heist at the core of the story. Um, but again, I think
Okay.
there's a lot of other optional things you can go off and do, which would be really cool because Survivor had the options to kind of go to some different planets, but if they can make good on the promise of exploring the Star Wars galaxy and hitting a bunch of different planets, I think that would be that'd be a really cool feat. It'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree with that. Anything open world, I'm interested in. Like, I'm not a super big gamer, but if it's a game I can just grab and go do stuff here and there, and it doesn't really like
Yeah,
matter, you know what I mean? Like, you just go kind of play around. I'm into that. So I'll buy it when it comes out for
yeah, I
sure.
think it'll be fun. So
Yeah. All right. So with that, let's go Tales of the Jedi season 2. This one is going to be good. We
yeah,
know it's going to be good. I think the biggest speculation is what Tales are we going to get?
I know. Yeah, and I was thinking about it's really cool if you look at who they picked for the last one because it wasn't like it was very non-traditional Jedi stories, right? You had
Yep.
really two Jedi that kind of got burned, right? With Dooku and then Ahsoka. So I am curious as to who's going to be the focus of this next season, because I imagine they're going to try to pick again people who have been on a different path or like an interesting path
Mhm.
and kind of highlighting what that was that led them to where they are. And so I don't know. There's a lot of different directions. Do you have any thoughts on who you think is going to be?
So yeah, selfishly, I want Balin, but with the
Oh, that'd be so
timing,
cool.
I don't know if it's possible unless
Yeah.
in retrospect they just knew he was going to be so interesting. And so, like a couple years ago, they were going, oh, yeah, this guy's going to be good. Let's animate
Yeah.
him in. Or maybe it doesn't take that long to throw these together. I have no clue, but I just think Balin's too soon for something that we're likely going to get by May the 4th.
Yeah, that's a good point. Unless they were just already planning on using a different voice actor, which could be plausible.
Yeah, well, I figure they
Um,
would have
you
done
never
that
know.
anyways. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
so
probably would
it's
be
possible. I
something.
would love that,
Yeah,
and if not this season, I feel like they need to do it in a season, because
yeah.
I think seeing how invested people are in Balin now, that would be something people would love.
And almost just to honor him too, you know.
Yeah,
So that would be cool. Andrew definitely down for a Balin arc, and then
yeah,
maybe Thrawn. That would be interesting. I mean, he's not a Jedi, but why not get a Thrawn backstory? You know, maybe something. What if it's like way, way back, like young Thrawn? That'd be pretty
yeah,
cool.
yeah. All of his
I think
backstory right now is currently in literature. None of it's
it's a
on
lot of
screen.
it.
So yeah,
So I
it would
think
be
out
interesting.
Balin's like a wish list, but I think it would be cool to get an Obi-Wan like before episode 1. I think it would be cool to get an Anakin between
Yeah,
episodes 1 and 2, maybe like young Anakin. We don't have that on screen. Would not
yeah.
surprise me at all, especially with this like big push on Anakin lately. What about a Luke between 5 and 6 or between
I would,
4
I
and
would, I
5?
think Luke would be cool. It would be cool. I don't know if you're getting into like stuff that I mean, because then at that point you're dealing with pretty major, major movie canon. But it'd be cool.
Yeah. You could have
Um,
Leia in the few months that she actually
yeah,
trained to be a Jedi. Be pretty interesting.
yeah,
She quit on it pretty quickly, but you could get a Ben Solo. That may be how they introduce
yeah. There's a
him.
lot of
You know.
options. I was Kane and Jarrus would be good.
Oh gosh,
It would
yeah.
be
And
cool to
they've done that
see
already, like a little bit here and there.
a little bit. Yeah, because we see
Yeah.
him in was it Bad Batch
Bad Batch season 1. Yeah.
when Order 66? Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah. It starts with him, right? The
Yeah,
whole series starts with
and he
him.
runs off. But we don't. I mean, we don't really know how he meets up with Hera or gets involved with the
Hmm.
Ghost Crew. Like those would be interesting stories to see.
For sure.
How he comes to terms with still being a Jedi, like all that stuff would be cool. Um, you know who I thought would be really interesting?
Who?
Pong Krell. You remember that guy?
Which one is he?
He was the general in the Clone Wars who hated the clones.
They just
And
make a
he,
Funko Pop about him.
I have
I
no
don't know that you
idea.
would know
That's
that.
your that's your world. I don't
If
know.
Noah is still in the chat, he can tell us. Or maybe seriously, Star Wars. Chris may know, but yeah, I'm not
He was
sure
he
about
was a
that.
really interesting character in the Clone Wars. He hated the clones. Basically threw them like fodder in the battle lines. At the end, when they basically capture him, he was planning to go to the Separatists. Like he was planning to switch sides and join the dark side and all that stuff.
Uh,
He would be an interesting character, I thought, to see his backstory, just because he was such an odd, interesting villain that kind of popped up out of nowhere in such a really short arc in the Clone Wars. But that's more of a personal interest, I guess. I don't know if that
I'd
would
be. It
be a
sounds
broader
interesting.
interest.
I
Yeah,
need to go
he's
ahead
he's
and
an interesting
finish the
guy.
Clone Wars. I've hit the high spots. I need to. I need to get that
Padawan
one.
Chronicle says there's a novel about how Hera and Kanan met. Hmm.
Interesting. And you
I
read
did not
books
know
too,
that.
so
I do read. Yeah, I can do that. That's a skill I have.
you're the educated one of the two of us.
I wouldn't go that far.
And then
I'll have to
maybe
check that
Plo
out.
Koon. Yeah, that would be a cool one to
That would be
explore as
cool too.
well. Especially since he
Yeah,
was the placeholder for Luke Skywalker in Mando season 2, that would be
yeah.
cool to see.
There's, I
So
mean, there's. They just need to keep making seasons. Basically, they just need to do all these people. Is I feel like is what we're getting at.
yeah, so I can read. Andrew, maybe you can read. I'm reading what you're saying, so maybe you're reading the comments as well. I don't know. So, Tales of the Jedi. Now, one last thing on this. What if
Yeah.
they're completely throwing us a curveball and they're like Tales of the Jedi season 2, they keep putting it
Hmm.
out, and then we log into Disney Plus and we turn it on and it's like Tales of the Sith.
I
How cool
thought
would
about
that
that the
be?
other day. I was like, I wonder if they're going to do Sith, and I was like, well, that'd be called Tales of the Sith. Maybe they'll have like a lightsaber, scratch it out, and it'll say
That would be
Sith.
such a baller move if they
I
did
would
that.
love that. I think that would be so cool to see the other side of things, because
Yeah.
you don't really see Sith training. That's one of the things, briefly going back to the Acolyte, is that I really hope we get to see what it looks like for these Sith in training and learning about the dark side of the Force and what it means
Yeah.
to be a Sith. Like, because that's nothing in Star Wars media right now. I know there's literature that covers it in different
Right.
aspects, but that would be really cool to see in a visual form. And so I'd love a Tales of the Sith type thing. That'd be really cool.
I would prefer it. I
Yeah,
think
it'd be pretty interesting.
you got to do the Plagueis novel. I know we talked about it the other day. I just finished it. I keep talking about it, but they do some
It
of
was
the
good.
Sith training in that as well. Like
Oh
they're
yeah,
jerks,
I
you know.
should
Like
check it out.
it's pretty rigid. The Sith training, so I think it'll be cool. You know, if we saw
Yeah,
that. And
I need to pick up
you're
some
to
books and just
Ricky.
make myself read.
Pop the Bounty Collector. We live. We are live currently. Kind of crazy. So yeah, that's Tales of the Jedi dash maybe hopefully Tales of the Sith at some point.
It'd be cool.
I'm pretty excited. I think optimistically maybe this is like a May the 4th release, but I don't know. It may go Bad Batch first, and then the last Tales of the Jedi was in October, but I feel like the fall is already going to have some kind of live action going. So I'm hoping we
Yeah,
get it sooner rather than later.
I could see it being like a May 4th type drop. Didn't they drop something on May the 4th? Was it last year, the year before? I don't remember.
Visions.
Was it Visions?
Yeah. Maybe
I
both.
could see
Yeah,
him doing that
both
because it's,
Visions.
it's a short form series, right? Like if it's the same and it's
Yeah.
just 6 short episodes, obviously the production time on that's a lot lower, so they could have it ready earlier in the year.
I
I
hope that's
imagine
the
they started
case.
working on it pretty quick after they realized how much people loved the first one. So
Yes. So I'm hoping it's soon. I think it very well may be because it will have been a while since we've had something. I mean, Ahsoka
yeah,
ended in October, right? So we need
yeah,
something kind of soon. We're missing our
yeah. It
Star
will be
Wars.
interesting to see when the first thing shows up.
Oh,
So
Andrew just finished Heir to the Empire. I know Kevin,
oh,
you've read
nice.
that. It's like the
Um,
best Star Wars book ever, right?
yeah. Are we talking about the new one or the or the first one?
Well,
Because
the
then
one,
Zahn's written a new trilogy, a new Thrawn trilogy
but
that's
yeah,
now
but
canon, that replaced the
But
old
Heir to
canon.
the Empire is
Oh yeah, that was the
it's
old. I
it's
didn't see that part.
specific.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
the original trilogy. Oh, that trilogy was so good.
Yeah, I need
So
to still do that. Reading it for the first time, I need to
there's
read that or
so much great
audiobook
stuff
it
to pull from Legends.
for
Uh,
sure. So Skeleton Crew, the main event, maybe not, we don't know
yeah,
yet. But I think and we've had a Force with Friends episode that tied in a lot of the Skeleton Crew because we have high hopes for it. I know the
yeah,
Celebration folks, they saw the Skeleton Crew trailer at Celebration last April. Apparently they filmed a lot of it. It's coming out this year. It was
yeah,
originally going to be a 2023 release, but then it's potentially early 2024. I think the strike probably really messed that up a lot, so probably mid 2024
yeah,
at best, but who knows. Just the description of it, like what we had read, it's like kind of the Stranger Things Goonies vibes. The young kids kind of going through the galaxy. They come across Dumbledore guy. What's his name?
you
He's
about made
he's
me
other
spit out
stuff.
my water.
He's other
Jude
stuff than
Law,
Dumbledore. Jude Law. So Jude Law is the
Dumbledore
Force
guy.
user. They're getting chased by a pirate guy from Mando season 3, the pirate guy that ran away. Um, it says there's another galaxy. How many stinking galaxies are we going to start throwing into Star Wars? So surely to goodness, it's the same one that they're in
I
Ahsoka,
hope
right?
so. I hope so. Which, by the way, Star Wars should hire you to do show synopsises, like right before the show, just to like catch people up. That would be great.
With
I
my
would,
accent and everything.
would be amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it says what I don't remember what the wording is. Something about a dangerous new
Yeah.
galaxy or
Dangerous Galaxy.
something.
Yeah.
Something it says. I don't know. It's hard to know if it's just like they've never been out in the galaxy or if it's like the new galaxy. I don't know. I hope it is because they just introduced this thing very briefly. And so it would be really cool to follow up with a show that explores a little bit there.
Be really smart
But
too.
Yeah, it would be. But that's again, this is one of those things. It's such an unknown right now. We don't really know a whole lot
I
about
think
it. I mean,
there's
we know a decent amount about the characters, but not necessarily anything
yeah.
about the plot and the setting. So
I think there's zero chance it's a different galaxy. There is no way they are going to be like, hey, not only are we going to one new galaxy, but two. It's like, but wait, there's more. You know,
yeah,
we're not gonna do that. Surely to goodness, I
yeah,
they could make it work, but I'm not optimistic if that's the path that they go. But as far as it's like four kids running around
yeah.
with a guy, so I think I like Stranger Things a lot. I like the Goonies. I don't know anybody that doesn't like the Goonies. So I think as
Yeah.
far as that aspect of the story, it should be pretty enjoyable because it'll be funny. There will be
Yeah.
lots of light-hearted moments, I'm sure. Plenty of trouble
Mhm.
to find yourself in. Like, don't take it too seriously type of a show. But then
Yeah.
again, Stranger Things has found a way to take it real seriously. You know, the kids
Yeah.
have grown up, so it'll be interesting to see kind of the approach they take with this show. I'm assuming if they're all like younger kids, which is what it sounds like, probably a good bit of lightheartedness in this one.
And I will say, well, it's interesting because I was reading the guy who pitched the show. I can't remember his name. The guy
Yeah.
who's doing the writing
Yeah, I don't
for
know.
it, but he pitched it as like a Amblin Spielberg type experience,
Yeah.
right? Like the Goonies, E.T.
Mhm.
Like he wanted it to be like that kind of coming of age, growing up type story that kids loved and we all loved in the 80s and 90s. And so with
Yeah.
that being their goal, I think it really could be a really fun, unique, just kind of adventure show. Um, but they haven't made a show yet that hasn't tied in with everything else somehow. Maybe not necessarily strongly, but like everything they've put out has connected somewhere within all of this Star Wars galaxy. So even though it might not be the most serious of shows, I still expect them to connect it somehow to everything else that's going on. So
Yeah.
I am curious to see how that plays out.
It's part of the Mandoverse, I believe. I want to say they've confirmed that somewhere. So I think it
Yeah,
will. Now, could this be like, you know how Marvel, how they all kind of coalesce into the big end game or whatever? Is this gonna be kind of like the Hawkeye or the Ant-Man, of Marvel? Like it's enjoyable, it's out there. It's not the meat and
yeah.
potatoes of Star Wars, but hey, here's this fun thing that kind of goes along with it. I don't know. I just know Sabine and Ahsoka have to get back somehow. And this show is
Yeah,
probably the vehicle to get them back. Just my
yeah.
thoughts.
Very possible. Quite possible. And Jude Law's character is a Force user, right? He's some
That's
sort of
correct.
Force
Yeah.
user. Yeah.
Yep.
There's been some
Maybe
interesting.
a surviving Jedi or something like that.
Yeah, there's been some interesting. I've seen some interesting theories about who he could be, pulling from Legends characters again. So a
Who
lot of
is
them
it?
are. Well, a lot of them are important towards. Okay, so in the Legends, there was this guy named Corran Horn who became a Jedi. He was actually a pilot in Rogue Squadron. He was a cool character
Uh-huh.
um, throughout a lot of the books. His A lot of people think it might be his dad, but so on the wall in Kenobi, right, where it has all the
Mhm.
people going through the what do they call it, the path or whatever. Um, that name is mentioned, the Halcyon name, which was
Right.
Cornhorn's
Yeah.
father. He changed his
Mhm.
name because it was connected with Jedi. Um, and in Kenobi, I don't remember where I saw this, but there's two characters credited as it's a boy and a mother credited as Corrin, and then the mother's name. I don't remember what it is. And so like they put them in Kenobi. And so this is obviously after that, however many years. So people have begun theorizing that this could be that character, which would be kind of cool. He was a
Might
really
as
cool
well
Legends
connect it.
character. But yeah, I'm curious to see who he's going to be. That's always fun when they start bringing in new characters, especially now that we've had some really cool additions
Yeah.
um, in Ahsoka. Like I'm hopeful for when they start bringing in new people.
Yeah, and I think that's an exciting thing too, really, because
Yeah,
Mando is in its third season, going on four. There's not a lot of new characters, like maybe a few here and there. Ahsoka was like a couple new characters. They were super
yeah,
good, but it was mainly people we knew. Tales of the Jedi is always people we know. So
yeah,
the fact that the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew can give us a whole lot of new characters, I'm always cool with that.
yeah. And Jude Law is great too. I mean, I
He
think
is.
whatever character he is playing is going to be done really, really well. So I think be a good structure for the show.
He's
So
going from
I'm really
normal
excited.
wizard to space wizard.
Yeah, just he loves the wizards.
He's just got to get in Lord of the Rings, and he's done it all.
He'll have the trifecta.
Yeah, of
Harry Potter,
wizardry.
Star Wars, and Lord of the Rings. That's funny.
So, anything else you got on Skeleton Crew? There's just a lot of unknown to it.
Let me check my notes because I have to keep notes.
See,
Because
you do notes
not
too. I just show
look.
up.
If anybody's watched the first couple episodes of this podcast, you will see that my mind, if I don't have something to control me, it's out of bounds. It's not a good thing.
I'm just here to
No,
prompt you to
covered
get all that
everything.
information out.
Yeah, no, I think that was it.
Cool. So
It's 8
I wanted
episodes,
to
right? 8
do it.
episodes. It's
I
8
assume that's what
episodes.
most of
Yeah.
them are.
So,
So as
which they did
far
a lot with
as
8 episodes in Ahsoka. So
yes, a
I'm
ton.
hopeful it'll be good.
John Watts, is that the guy?
Directing, I don't know. That wasn't the writer, but that might be who's directing. I don't know. There's so
Could
many
be.
people involved in these projects now,
Right.
between writer and producer and director and all that.
So one
Could
thing,
be.
put our prediction hats on. I'm gonna tell you the way I think they're gonna release all these,
Okay.
and then I want you to tell me what your release order you think it is.
Hmm.
Bad Batch, I think, is gonna be the first one we get.
Hmm.
I feel like they've been working on it for, they put those together pretty quick, and then so that may be like a spring thing, maybe February March gets us to May the 4th, and then we get not Skeleton, we get Tales of the Jedi. I think that's going to be the May the 4th thing. Then I think we're going to have kind of like a couple years ago where we had Kenobi come out in the summer. I think we're going to get one of the live actions, and then after that we'll get the other. Kind of was it Kenobi Andor that kind of went back to back?
Yeah, they were pretty
Somewhat
close
back to back.
together because Kenobi was summer and then Andor was August, wasn't it? Into summer. Or was it
Correct. Yeah,
October?
it was only like a month
Was
off
it
or
August
something
or was
like
it
that.
October? I don't know. It was towards the
It
end of the
was
year.
in the fall. So
September. It was
yeah,
supposed to be August. And they got pushed back to September. They pushed it back like a month or something.
gotcha. So
I
I
could be
think that's
wrong
what we're
about
gonna
all
get. I
that.
think we're gonna get 2 animated, then we're gonna get the 2 live action. That's just my guess. And I mean, I think that's kind of how that 2022 went. They did a similar thing, and so it worked as far as I know. So why not?
It seems Andrew has done all our research for us because we're
He
lazy.
has. So he did the MCU. This is John
Okay.
Watts. Did the MCU Spider-Man
All right.
trilogy, and he's the creator and director. We're gonna have to get Andrew on next time, just as the person who knows stuff on this show.
Yeah.
So that is
Okay.
how I think it's gonna go down. Any objections? You just want to like mix up the order just so one of us gets it
No,
right?
I feel like that's a pretty solid order. I definitely think Bad Batch is going to be first. I do think it's probably been in the works and ready to go. And
Yeah.
I don't think they'll start off with one of the big live action projects. So
Yeah.
I could be wrong though. We'll see.
Yeah. So Andrew says Bad Batch, Acolyte, Tails, Skeleton. That'd be a good breakup too, right there. I wouldn't mind that either. Give us a little bit of a breather on all this for sure.
Yep.
So that's the order. What's rank them most interesting for you?
Cool.
And leave the video game out because it's different.
I will start at the bottom. Least excited for Bad Batch. And again,
not in a negative way.
No, not in a negative way. Like I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be good. I hope they do a really good job of closing it out. Again, I don't know if it's just me. Maybe I'm just weird. I just gravitate more towards the identical clones more than I have the Bad Batch. I think they're a cool group. Don't get me wrong, but that is probably the one I have the least amount of excitement for, even though I'm excited for it. Acolyte would be third because I am really excited for it and I think it's going to be good, but I can't put it above the other two. Now, I think Tales of the Jedi is going to be the one I probably enjoy the most this year, but I'm putting it at number 2 because I know it's going to be good. And I'm really curious and interested in Skeleton Crew. Like, I feel like it just has the potential to be a really unique and different experience. So I'm not ranking it first in terms of I think it's going to be the best. I hope it's amazing, but I'm really curious as to what the show is going to look like and what it's going to do and how it's going to connect. So Skeleton Crew, Tales, Acolyte, Bad Batch.
Okay.
Again, not in any order of how good I think they'll be. Just I guess what I'm most interested to see.
Yeah, so me and you very similar about this. I would put Tails at the top just as far as like I know it's going to be
It's
great.
fair. Yeah.
But for 4 is going to be Bad Batch. Nothing against Bad Batch. It's just it's like the competition's, pretty stiff here. So Bad
Yeah.
Batch, Skeleton Crew, Tales of the Jedi, The Acolyte.
Wait, say that again because I think I just got confused with your order.
Bad Batch at 4,
Oh, at
Skeleton
4.
Crew,
Okay.
yeah, Skeleton Crew 3, Tales of the Jedi 2,
So you have
Acolyte 1.
Acolyte at number 1. Interesting.
So it's the most intriguing for me just because it is so different. Like, we
Yeah,
don't have just a Sith story. I'm kind of
that's
into
true.
that right now. We don't have that timepiece. So that's very interesting to me. And if it's gonna start, like, because we're building out from episode 6 on, way on,
Yeah.
but now we can go back and build our way up to episode 1. I love it. So that's my idea of where Star Wars should start exploring once we figure out whatever is going on the other side of things. I think that's super
Yeah.
interesting.
Now, I will say, based on stories that I really like, I think Acolyte could be my favorite if it's done really well. Just feel like not necessarily knowing the direction it's going to go yet, but if it does turn out to be this really good kind of like almost like murder mystery type thriller type,
Yeah, yeah.
like that could be really cool, and I think that would probably make it at the top of my list for the year. But I don't know yet. I just can't tell which direction it's going. So
What if it turned out to be like the best Star Wars series they've made?
that'd be great. That'd be
That'd be
awesome.
weird, right?
It would be weird, but I
Yeah.
mean, it could be.
For what it's
We'll
worth,
see.
I don't think that's going to happen, but like it would be cool if it was. So Andrew
I'm expecting
goes,
it to be good.
yeah, Andrew goes Tails, Skeleton Crew, Acolyte, Bad Batch. That's pretty
So that's
solid.
like mine. He just
That's
swapped
probably,
1 2.
yeah, what
Yeah.
what you actually think, but we're,
Yeah. I think
we
I'm
know what we're
banking on
getting.
hope that Skeleton Crew is going to be as
Yeah.
good as I want it to be. So
Yeah. So, long story short, 2024 is going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be a
yeah,
lot of Star Wars to break down. We're probably
yeah,
going to get announcements for 2025 stuff as well to keep us excited. So, I think it's going to be a great year. Looking ahead, not to next year, but to next week with our next episode of Force with Friends. If you've been following at all, we've been working through the story of Star Wars. So we're currently
yeah.
through Return of the Jedi, which is now my favorite Star Wars movie, which, kind of surprised that happened. But we're going to be
So
starting the
good.
sequels next week. So this has been our most challenging thing we've discussed because they kind of feel like they're on their own island and they don't mesh well with the story of Star Wars, but we're going to watch it from this
Yeah.
mindset we've been doing of one continuous story. And I've got a sneaky suspicion that we may enjoy it a little bit more.
I'm hoping we'll be surprised. So,
I love episode
I mean,
7, so I know I'm going to like it anyways. But
yeah, episode, it is good. It's a good start.
yeah,
Just looking at how closely the prequel and original trilogy are connected now, I somehow the sequels
that's
return.
funny.
That is
That's real
funny.
funny.
Oh, and it makes me mad at the same time.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like that's it. I mean, that's it right there. Right, that comment is just like that. There was just so much missed potential with those movies. I'm
Yeah.
hoping that as we go through it with this new lens of carrying through this story, that we'll find more value in it.
Yeah.
If you love the sequels, I'm not hating on
We
you or
love
them.
that
It's
for
just
you.
it wasn't my cup of tea. So
Yeah. And now I love aspects of it, so I know
oh
for a
sure,
fact there are already some things that
there are
I'm like,
great moments in
yes,
it.
this
Yeah,
ties perfectly into this, and it's as Star
yeah,
Wars as it gets. So I'm really excited for those moments because I think it's going to elevate those, and I'm hoping it also brings up the parts that maybe we don't like. So it's not going to be a bash on the sequels thing. We will obviously say like, oh, I didn't care for that as much because we've done the same for the other 6, but the main focus is going to be tying it all together. So I'm actually really excited to start this,
yeah.
and I'm hoping it makes me really like them even more. So So that's where we're going. And Hyrule Sith, we have another gamer in here. So Tony is working 3 shifts right now on the Hyrule Sith channel. So guys, if you're into video gaming, go sub to Tony there
Yeah, he's got a cool
as
gaming account I
well.
like to tune into every now and then. It's got some cool stuff on there.
Andrew's on tonight. Somehow Tony returned. That's funny. So
That's great.
that's where we're going over the next few weeks. So those will not be lives, but they will be the usual. We record it, put it out on Friday, but we do plan to do some lives a little bit more here and there because this has been a lot of fun. So
Yeah, it has.
everyone, thanks for joining. We will catch you guys next week as we are discussing The Force Awakens.